They'll believe me because they want to believe me. We just need to give them something to hang their hat on.
Candy, what did you do? Tell me. Candy, what did you do?
Betty Gore died on Friday the 13th, the same day that the movie Friday the 13th came out. The Gore house is the 13th one from the corner. The body was found 13 hours after her death, and Candy was arrested 13 days later. You can draw your own conclusions as to the meaning of it all.
And her last name is Gore.
I'm changing my last name to Lives Forever.
Well, I heard that one of the jurors on the same softball team as Don Crowder.
Well, I heard Judge Ryan delayed his retirement for this, and he wants a conviction.
I just think that she's obsessed with her perception in the community. Betty found out that she was screwing Alan, threatened to tell, and that's why she hacked her up.
She's a narcissist.
She's innocent.
All right, honey.
You didn't have to come home.
I ain't gonna miss this.
It's not a show.
It was a drift boat.
Don Crowder. As an ambulance chaser. What's he doing with a murder case?
Yeah, he's a showman, loves attention.
I've run into him a couple of times. Loves to talk about playing in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, look, start with Alan Gore. Hit them with the emotion of the devastated husband, the destruction of a family by a scorned mistress. How could they come back from that?
Yeah.
That's her vision.
Is that her? All right, good.
You ready to fight?
Yes, sir.
You're innocent, Candy.
All right. Now, before we begin, council will recall back on the 11th day of July, this court issued an order restricting news releases and prohibiting council from discussing this case with any members of the news media. So this morning, I'm up in my office, and I walk over the window and look down, and there is Mr. Crowder conducting a press conference with the television media. So what do you have to say about that?
Your Honor, I thought the order was lifted. If I am in error, it is an innocent error. Furthermore, let me ask you this.
Sir, you're not asking this court a question. I asked you if you want to make a statement. So now, this court finds you in contempt, and your punishment is a $100 fine and 24 hours in the Collin County Jail. But, so your confinement doesn't interfere with the proper representation of your client, I'm gonna suspend your sentence.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Until the day of the conclusion of the trial. All right, now, you ready to enter a plea?
It's up to you.
Candace Montgomery. You stand charged with the first-degree felony offense of murder. So how do you plead?
Not guilty.
And how would you describe your relationship with your wife prior to the events of June 13th?
Fine. Not great.
Can you speak up, please? The acoustics in this courtroom are not great.
I said my marriage to Betty was fine, but not great.
But you loved each other.
Yes.
You had just learned that you were expecting a third child, hadn't you?
Yes.
How did your affair end with the defendant?
Just one day.
That's it?
Yes. One day we decided to stop seeing each other because it wasn't good for either one of our marriages.
You told investigators that you were the one who ended it, and you were rather specific about the reason why.
I don't remember how the conversation started.
No.
But it was mutual.
You told law enforcement that you were the one who ended it because she was in love with you.
I don't
and
know why I said that. The affair ended amicably.
I'll pass the witness.
How would you characterize your relationship with Mrs. Montgomery now?
Friendly. We're still friends.
And when you found out that there was a possibility Mrs. Montgomery might have been Betty's killer, how'd you react to hearing that news?
Well, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I still can't.
Can't what?
I can't believe that Candy could have done it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gore.
It's like he's a witness for the defense.
The witness is excused.
What just happened? Deputy Defferbaugh, other than the cut on Candace Montgomery's toe, did you observe any other injuries on the defendant?
Yes, sir. There were several bruises on her feet and legs.
I'll pass the witness.
Would you describe these wounds as evidence of a struggle?
As possible, sure.
Objection! Your Honor, that's speculative.
Sustained.
I'll pass the witness.
Deputy, is it possible that the bruises you observed on the defendant were self-inflicted?
Yes, that's possible.
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
I don't recall, Your Honor, this ruling when I asked a nearly identical question.
Mr. Crowder, I'm going to insist that you
We'd like the record
conduct
to show now
yourself.
the judge's bias.
There's no necessity to dictate into the record.
We have to preserve the record, Judge. You have interjected your bias in this case from the very time that it started. You hit me with contempt for breaking a press gag order when at the very same time you had the press in your own office. As you said, it's right upstairs.
Let me tell you something. I'm going to conduct this trial in an orderly and professional manner, and I anticipate the attorneys to do the same. There are not going to be any personal attacks on the presiding judge of this court.
That's fine with me as long as the presiding judge of this court reins in their bias.
You let me finish
I
what
will
I'm
not be
saying?
lectured to or bullied in this courtroom. I am representing a woman who may go to jail for her life. I will perfect the record, and I will have the record show it, and the record in this case shows that from the very time that it started up until now, you have interjected your bias, and you continue to do so, and no, I will not lay down for you.
All right, sir. For that remark, this court is going to hold you in contempt. I'm going to assess your punishment at a $100 fine and 72 hours in the Collin County Jail. This brings your total to $200 and 96 hours. Mr. O'Connell, you may proceed.
I will pass the witness.
Were there any useful fingerprints found on the axe?
I'm well aware that on Quincy or Hawaii 5-0, they always get the fingerprint, but here in real life, the obtaining of a useful fingerprint is an unusual circumstance.
And did you find any physical evidence that would contradict a version of events where Betty picked up the axe?
No.
Deputy, let me just come right out and say it. Candy killed Betty Gore in that utility room.
Oh my God. Oh.
Okay.
She left blood, fingerprints, hair. She didn't really try to hide anything, did she?
She did not.
You might say she's pretty inept criminal, wouldn't she?
Probably I would.
You said before that Betty Gore could have picked up the axe first.
No, sir. I said that there was no physical evidence to contradict the possibility.
Right. Did you find any evidence that would indicate conclusively that this was an unprovoked attack?
Conclusively? No.
I'll pass the witness.
Mary, Mother of Jesus, they're gonna do it. Self-defense with an axe.
The hell they are. Did the chop wounds on Betty Gore's face appear in parallel?
Yes. They appeared to have all been inflicted from the same angle.
And what does that tell you about the state of Mrs. Gore when the blows were struck?
That she was not moving.
So if it was a fight, at this point, Mrs. Gore was not fighting back.
That's right.
If it pleases the court, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the state will rest its case.
So you...
No.
There's a perfectly reasonable explanation. All the doctors said so.
All the doctors.
Yeah, I spoke to Dr. Bright, and he explained overkill. That's when more damage is done than is needed to kill. Now, they picked that military guy for foreman. He gets it. In the heat of battle, it's possible for soldiers to lose it.
And Dr. Williamson said that the overkill was a result of a dissociative reaction that I had. Maybe you need to eat some food.
Dr. Green says even though we live in a civilized society, our bodies are still like when we lived in the jungle 10,000 years ago.
Right.
You see that, jury? They were relieved when I said self-defense. Do you see that?
I did.
I haven't seen anything. Sitting in that room with Alan all day. Tom, you need another beer?
Please. When we feel that our life is in danger, we respond. Like if a lion came pouncing out of the bushes.
Right. It's even worse for me because he also said I have been over-controlled and over-civilized. Well, who controls you? My mother. And that's the thing. I've been controlled all my life and I didn't even know it because I have suppressed it.
That's why I sent her to Dr. Faison, age regression.
Age regression?
To find the incident in her childhood that caused this dissociative reaction. Through hypnosis. Oh, Pat.
You know, they had that on Columbo. George Hamilton and Leslie Ann Warren. What do you know about that?
So he took me back to when I was 4 and I was in an emergency room. And I was screaming, "I'll get out," because I had cut my head. And I was bleeding real bad. And then my mother, she shushed me. Shh. Just like that. Because she said I was upsetting everyone. You know, what will they think about you?
Over civilized.
You never told me this.